And we should be live. Let me go ahead and check. It says we're live, but are we?
What you gotta do, man?
Well, I've got an ad, which is usually a good sign.
Alright.
And the answer is yes, we are in fact live. Awesome. All right. Hello, everyone. Ace here. Welcome to today's live stream. I'm joined today with returning guest, Jedi Exile.
Hello. How y'all doing?
Welcome back to the stream, Jedi Exile. And today we are back with some more Star Wars The High Republic Adventures, Echoes of Fear, which the comic is quick to tell us takes place a century before the Acolyte. You know, their whole marketing scheme to try to push to tie these in with the Acolyte by saying, hey, they're both High Republic era.
If this is their attempt to try to secretly bribe a second season of Disney, then it's going to fail miserably.
Oh, yeah. I've heard actually rumors that there's a chance that they might end up at the end of 2025 just stop completely with the High Republic stuff because of how abysmally it's been doing. Like, the book that has done the absolute best in the High Republic was the very first High Republic book, which sold 150,000 copies. Which
because Charles Soule knows what he's doing. He knows how to write.
Yes. But the thing is, that's the absolute best, and that's for Star Wars. 150,000 copies is, for Star Wars, absolutely nothing. And there have been books that have been getting released that get into the single-digit thousands in terms of sales for Disney, especially, and that was a few years ago. That was a year ago with Phase 2, and we're at Phase 3 now, which it's almost certainly gotten even worse. There's bundle compilations of the stories that are selling less than 1,000 copies in sales. Like there was one bundle I saw, again, from last year's sales figures, that sold 451 copies.
I'm making a comparison to history that some people, I don't know if they're going to know about, but literally, I think they're about to have their version of Caporetto. I don't know if anyone knows about the Isonzo, but...
Oh, yeah. You know the definition...
I played the game.
You know the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. 12 Battles of the Isonzo.
Yep, and I played the game. It's fun, and they're coming out with a new map soon. But we're not here to advertise. We're here to do whatever this is. Torture ourselves. Do something good. I don't know. Whatever you want to call it, man.
Plus, I would have to put out the disclaimer that at least some of the devs that are from the World War I game series team worked on Battlefield 1918 back in the day, so there's that as well.
Yeah, so my bad for, but...
No worries.
But it's a fun game.
It is. Paul Schluck says, time to get high, Republic. Nika says, Palpatine did it for our sins. Remember, no Mandalore. Mr. Vibe Check says, in. Riley Moon says, I have never seen President Trump and Ronald McDonald in the same place.
You won't, especially post-2016.
Nico says, as I'm watching this, I'm unironically playing bowling in GTA 4. It's still a better time. That is a fucking insult, to, if there ever was one. That is a good one. I'll give you that. Although, to be fair, this is the Echoes of Fear, which I think issue 1 was actually alright.
Yeah, so it was... Like, this isn't the worst stuff we've read from High Republic, but it's not the... I wouldn't call it a masterpiece.
No, but like I said, the guy that made this has made a decent High Republic, has made some of the very few decent High Republic comics, so I am curious to see how this goes. So, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got to work with.
All right. Star Wars: The High Republic. Trials of the Jedi. Jedi Knight Reith Silas and Padawan Amadeo Azazo are investigating the legendary Echo Stones, ancient artifacts rumored to amplify the Force, in the hopes of defeating Mark Yonro's fearsome creatures known as the Nameless. In the Jedi archives, Reith and Amadeo uncovered the tale of Darth Ravi, an evil Sith Lord who first found the stones and was destroyed by their immense power. Now the two Jedi dig deeper into the archives to find out what happened to the Echo Stones after they were discovered.
So we're going into this starting off with some dollar store Infinity Stones.
Well, Sith artifacts are a long-established thing, so...
Yeah, but they're more like... I think a talisman... I think they're more like talismans and stuff like that is what they were mostly...
I think this is supposed to be something similar as well. And to be fair, I know for a fact... To be fair, there are even Jedi technology that can amplify your ability to use the Force. The Jedi Starfighter in the prequels had that kind of technology, for example.
Yeah, because they were so sensitive that only the Starfighters were so sensitive when turning or maneuvering. Only Jedi using the Force could control them.
And if you look at the Jedi Starfighter games, it gives you additional Force powers as well. Although I'm not really sure that's canonical. Well, actually, here's the thing: there are pilots in the lore that weren't Jedi but could fly a Jedi Starfighter. Wedge Antilles found one. He actually found Obi-Wan Kenobi's Jedi Starfighter from Geonosis and flew off planet that way.
Really?
Yeah, he did that in Star Wars Rogue Squadron 3.
That's crazy. You learn something new about Legends every day. I mean, there's just so much of it. Not many people know about it all.
Then again, though, it's Wedge Antilles who pulled that off.
Yeah,
so
that's even better.
I'm just saying, if there's a non-Force user who could have pulled it off, either him or Han Solo would be the two that could do it. Mr. Vibe... Okay, so, let's see. Nico says, as I'm watching this, I'm on... Okay, alright, I read that. Storm Rain says, oh god, I just tuned in and misread Azazo as Rizazo. Mr. Vibe Chick says, Dark Rabbi. Oh god. Tactician Alexandra says, High Republic, so more of how not to write a story well anything 101. Yes, although this might actually be one of the exceptions we will see, because it's written by George Mann, who's written one of the very few High Republic comics that's actually worth reading. So we'll see how this goes.
Alright. So, do you want to... Would you like to play... Who's it again?
I could say right off the bat that the artwork is not inspiring. But if the writing's good, then, well, that's at least counts for something. So, we'll see.
Alright, would you like to play Amadeo and then I'll be Reith, or what do you want?
I'm trying to figure out which one is which right now.
Reith's the brown-haired one.
They're both brown-haired. The dude sitting or the dude standing?
The dude standing.
Okay, I'll voice him. I'm just trying to think of exactly what voice to... Oh, I'm just going to give him the 90s Attitude Kid voice again.
Alright. Let's do it.
So we know from the legend of Dark Ravi that the Echo Stones are artifacts of great power, and that they've been around for thousands of years. What we don't know is exactly where they came from.
And that helps us because...
Because we've already know the Echo Stones have some sort of connection to the Nameless. That the three ancient of the Ptolemite people... the three ancients of the Ptolemite people used these stones to create a trio of rods that allowed them to control the creatures.
The rods being used by Marchion Ro that make the Nameless do the bidding of the Nile.
Precisely.
But what can we do, Reith? I mean, it's just the two of us looking through old records.
Don't you see? This is our chance to turn the tide against the Nihil. You and me, Amadeo, these old records hold the answers the Jedi need to resolve this. I know it. If we can figure out where the Echo Stone came from, there's every chance I'll lead us to the place where the Nameless originated too.
You think it's the same planet?
I do. Seems like Barnabas Vim was right on the path all those years ago after all.
Who is Barnabas Vim?
Barnabas was a Jedi who lived over a century ago. With his Padawan Vix Phonic, he explored the galaxy in search of artifacts that had a connection to the Force. This led him to the planet Angkor, where he and Vix discovered an Echo Stone. The people of Angkor were drawing it from its power, but didn't realize it was consuming the planet and corrupting the people in turn. So Barnabas and Vix destroyed the stone and scattered the remaining shards throughout the galaxy to stop them from falling into the wrong hands.
Wow.
But Barnabas became convinced that the Echo Stones were dangerous and needed to be properly understood. He couldn't allow them to be turned against people as weapons. So, he set out to learn everything he could about the stones, their history, their origins, and he got close, Amadeo, really close. This holocron contains a series of fragmentary records he made for his Padawan, after he left her to set out in search of the origin of the Echo Stones, right before he disappeared for good and was never heard from again. Yes, following this guy seems to be a brilliant plan. What could possibly go wrong?
Everything. But let's just frolic in the daisies and not worry about it.
I mean, you could argue these Jedi are extremely desperate to try to defeat the Nihil. And you could argue that these two are still pretty naive, even though one's a knight, but...
It's just, do they have a plan B in case something goes wrong?
We'll see, but also I can't help but point out, the last issue made it seem like they were going to go searching for this thing, but they're still stuck in the records. So if this is going to just be a comic book series that is nothing but exposition drop, that is going to...
Why do they have to do exposition? I was saying, why do they have to do exposition dumps every fucking time? It's like these writers don't know what they want to do or what direction they're going.
I will say this, at the very least, this is better than exposition we see in High Republic Adventures regularly, where Daniel Jose Older wants to exposition about the two lesbians wanting to marry each other and not know each other wants to marry each other.
Well, that's because he treats the audience like they're stupid.
He treats their... Yeah. To be fair, I'm pretty sure Daniel Jose Older's not the brightest bulb in the bunch. But, anyways, let me go ahead and read some of the comments here. Mr. Vibecheck says, golden piece of corn in the turd. Tactician says, when in doubt, return to monkey or rather the 90s. Mr. Vibecheck could do a nasally, whiny voice. Stormrain says, oh god, you weren't kidding when you called it Infinity Stones at home. The Echo Stones. Yeah. Tactician says, the default plan B is to come up with a plan C. Mr. Vibecheck says, paid by the letter. Yeah, so far we... how many pages are we in on this? 7? Okay, so...
Are we at 7?
Yeah, we're at page 7, and it's still exposition. In fact, it's exposition... as a prelude to more exposition.
There's too much exposition dumping. We need to sit down and get some action.
Riley Moon says, they clearly never learned the cardinal rule of storytelling, show, don't say. Yes.
I mean, you can say stuff, but only if it's something that's, like, really complicated. Or that the audience actually isn't going to understand just from showing it. Because, I mean, to be fair, the audience can tend to be confused at times.
I mean, Star Trek Next Gen did a lot of that for the technical babble. Definitely. But it also kind of was necessary to some degrees, considering the setting and how the setting worked.
Because it's sci-fi, it's like... Not everybody understands how stuff like that works.
Yeah. Mike Cassius says, according to Arch, Destiny is going to upload his East memo video today. Can't wait for him to melt down over the response. Oh boy, this is going to be interesting if he does that, because he's still having to put... the thing is, at the end of the day, the Eastman memo, to argue that it's a coup attempt, Dev is essentially having to argue that it is somehow a coup attempt to do a process that has been tested by the 1876 election to preserve democracy by presenting alternate electors if you think the results are fraudulent, which they were in the 1876 election for the record.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also having to argue that it's a coup attempt to ask the rest of the government nicely not to accept fraudulent results. That's what he's having to argue. Because Trump had to because the whole plan hinged on Trump getting Mike Pence to agree with him. Then it required the Congress to agree with him, or at least the majority of Congress to agree with him. Then it required the Supreme Court not to shut the whole thing down. So all three branches had to have agreed to Trump, asking them nicely.
What?
Yeah. Dev's argument is unironically, when you analyze it, that it's a coup attempt to ask the government nicely to not certify fraudulent results. It is absolutely...
I'm getting confused just hearing about this. Like, how is that a coup attempt?
Because Trump provided an alternate slate of electors, which Dev, for absolutely no reason, argues is itself election fraud. Even though people that are critical of Trump, like the former Trump Attorney General, has openly gone on record to say, look, there's nothing wrong with presenting an alternate slate of electors.
Yeah, there isn't. It's not against the Constitution.
It's not against the Constitution. It was done before the 1876 election, amusingly to prevent election fraud that was happening there, that the Democrats did. By the way they did it in the 1876 election, the Democrats, when they posted their ballots, were trying to trick voters who happen to be illiterate in the Deep South by having the Democrat candidate be represented by a symbol of Abraham Lincoln, which historically was the symbol of the Republicans at the time.
What?
Yeah!
I mean, even when Lincoln got into office, he was a moderate, but he was still part of the Republican Party, so it's like...
Yeah, so they had an image of Abe Lincoln to symbolize the Democrat Party in the 1870s. It was fucking unreal.
Which just shows what they're doing today. They're trying to provide the person who, like, they're trying to paint it like they are for this stuff, but they're lying. Mm. So they have to choose the person who aligns with their stuff to be who aligns with that side to be a part of their party. If I'm making any sense.
Yeah. Storm says, oh, that's scummiest. Oh, it gets even better. So one of the electorates was originally going to be disqualified. One of the electorates that was for Trump in another state was originally going to be disqualified because he worked as a postmaster. He was going to step down of his role as a postmaster so he could be a legitimate electorate. Mm-hmm. So the governor there refused to let him step down, so he got disqualified, so the Democrat governor could put in a Democrat electorate where the Republican electorate was going to be. Keep in mind, the 1876 election was determined by one electorate vote.
Wow.
Yeah. Shit like that is... Yeah. But like I said... And like I said about the whole election fraud thing, right? So that's been actually proven in the 2020 election as well, though not in the way that a lot of people realize. The way that it's been proven is that there's actually congressional committee reports that show that the Biden campaign colluded with U.S. government agencies like the FBI and CIA to publish a report stating that the Hunter Biden laptop was just Russian disinformation and propaganda, that it was completely false. Even though... Yeah, but here's the thing. They published a statement even though the CIA had evidence at that time that proved for a fact that it was not Russian disinformation and, in fact, very real. So government agencies were colluding to publish a report stating false information to help Biden win. That is 100% election fraud through misinformation.
Yeah, and people to this day don't want to admit that Biden and Harris both cheated, and who's to say that Harris and Walz aren't going to do it again? Like, who's to say they're not going to cheat again?
Ryman says, Dev lied about the Eastman memo, Dev lied about the trucker protest, Dev lied about Cory Comparator, Dev lied about his principles. When will the good faith centrists lie to support the left next? I suspect it's going to be soon. I'm going to be really curious to see what this video is, what his defenses of his take of the Eastman memo are. Because I've never seen him say a single thing actually proving that the whole alternate slate of electors is actually, against the Constitution. But anyways.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Mike Isaiah says, but they did it to save democracy, so it's okay. That's the thing. When you point out that Biden committed election fraud, then even if you take the most uncharitable interpretation that he took of the Eastman memo, even if you take that interpretation, it's still completely morally justified and completely justifiable because Biden committed election fraud, which would, according to Dev's logic, make him unelectable. Until, you compare the two, and then he actually tries to say, but it's okay when Biden does it. I actually have screenshots of him trying to push the argument that Biden is not indefensible for that, but Trump is indefensible for the Eastman memo. It is. Can we just skip
the lawsuits and maybe bring back dueling? That might solve a few things. Like, let's just skip all the lawsuits and let's just go straight to the dueling. Like, make it legal again.
I mean, I could see a few perks to that. For one thing, I'm actually gonna let's not get into a lengthy tangent on that. But
we'll save it for later.
Yeah, we'll save it for later. All right, let's continue.
I hope that wherever you're taking the other shards, they are safe, and that you are safe too. I wish we could have done things differently, Padawan, but I have faith in you. You are ready for this. And I'm close to the closest I've ever been yet. I think I picked up the trail of another Echo Stone, and you're not going to believe this. It's in the hands of another Jedi. And what's more, is an old friend of mine. Tarek Boren, a Wayfinder. He's been making waves on the Outer Rim. Lots of stories about a Jedi using a magical stone that helps people in need. And I've tracked him to the planet Petrus Major. I'm going to find him. I'm going to get to the bottom of this and what's going on. And find out what, if anything, he knows about the Echo Stones.
Alright. Riley Moon says consensual combat is legal in Texas. Okay, consensual combat itself is legal in Texas, but I think it's more along lines of fist fight than what most people think of dueling. They think of either sword.
I'm talking about swords or pistols.
Yeah. To be fair, there's some that are actually kind of weird as well. Like, I think there was one case in Germany where where one guy challenged a duel of eating 2 sausages and one of them was poisoned.
If that was Bismarck who did that, I'm going to laugh.
I think it was. At the very least, I'm pretty sure it was the 19th century that happened. But
oh my god. Wow.
Apparently, that result got turned down. There's a couple other really weird ones, like the time that two guys got into or decided to do a pistol duel, and one of them being a doctor and knowing how clothes tended to come in with the bullet if you got hit. He decided it would be a good idea the best way to prevent dying of infection was to completely undress himself.
What?
Yeah.
Well, then it was the 1800s. Nobody knew how medicine worked back then.
He's not. To be fair, that doctor wasn't actually wrong. If he did get hit and the bullet if he did get hit and a piece of his clothes tore into himself from the bullet, that would be a fucking bad thing.
Oh.
So he did actually have a point.
I know, but did you have to get literally ass naked just to do a duel?
Technically you didn't, but apparently it happened. There was also the two guys that apparently were dueling for something like 20 years. On and off. These were pistol duels. These were sword duels, but still.
Wow. I love the 1800s.
Alright. Actually, now that I think about it, I've actually seen footage of the French doing duels up into the 1970s with swords.
Yeah, the last duel in France occurred in 1967.
Okay, 60s, but yes.
Yeah, because I think Charles de Gaulle at least allowed one last duel.
Dr. Vibecheck says that doctor wanted a different kind of sword duel. Actually, he was going for a pistol duel. Alright, anyways. Nico says, on a full moon in Star Wars, you can hear the howl of a Wookiee in the night. Alright. So, let's go ahead and continue. Rabundus Petrus Major.
Excuse me, I was wondering if you could help me. I'm looking for a Jedi.
Aren't we all, my friend? Aren't we all?
Oh shit, it's a trap.
Yes. Let me check to see what level of it we're working on here. I don't see an Adam apple, so then again, that could just be the artwork being the artwork.
Yeah, probably. But then again, it's Disney Star Wars, you never know. I mean,
yeah.
The whole trans clone trooper controversy blew up in their face.
Yeah.
In more ways than one. So, you haven't heard of the tales of a powerful young Jedi who is causing a stir around these?
Oh, I've heard them all right. Plucking crashing spaceships out of the air to save the passengers and crew. Healing dying villagers from a plague. Wait, plucking... Oh, okay. Healing dying villagers from a plague of deadly parasites. Communing with wild herds of Stontha beasts to guide them away from the floods. I reckon you'll have to join the back of a very long queue if you want to find that particular Jedi. He lives out in the wilds, if the stories are to believe. And there's some stories. I've heard he defeated an entire army of marauders on Axis 9 without touching a single being.
I wanted to make a joke there with it, talking to her and then cutting straight to law enforcement, but I couldn't think of anything clever.
That's her, officer. That's the one that's been after me and needs to be patrolled.
Yeah, just be like, she did it. Yeah.
What is it with all these characters also dumping even more exposition into this exposition-heavy backstory, which we got an exposition-heavy prelude to?
I can't... Why the exposition? Just why?
This dude's making a comic, not a leftist meme. Alright, let's continue.
Yeah. Hasn't been one this way for months.
Translated from Huttese.
Shit, wrong language.
Alright. Yeah, why is he speaking in Huttese? That is another question.
It's still a mystery.
As I understand it, Master Jedi, he was last seen in the company of a Dolorian people out to the west amongst the Creekback Hills. Word is he's helping them prepare for more floods. Now, what can I fix you to drink?
Out that way. Wait, out that way. About 30 kilometers, they have a settlement out there. Ain't too keen on the city way of life. Those Ularians. But you should watch yourself out there. It ain't safe. Weather's turning, and the floods are a-coming harder than they've ever been before. And I don't know where the fuck I have this accent, but screw it.
The one you seek is in the hills, my friend. He is preparing.
Preparing for what?
To save us all from the storms. What else? Is this going to be a Noah's Ark story?
Maybe, just... I'm more confused as to why is he yelling instead of just jumping across and talking face to face.
Good
It's
point.
like, come on, you're a Jedi.
Trent Roberts donates $2.79 Canadian, says Super Chat for the Super Chat gods. Thank you very much, Mr. Trent Roberts. Yokai says, exposition is what happens when someone that don't know how to tell a story tries to tell a story. Yep. Eckardian says, is the High Republic still a thing? Sadly, yes, though I think its days are starting to get numbered. Paul says, people usually communicate in paragraph form. Storm Raiden says, simple, they're not characters, they're information bulletin boards. Yeah, here's the thing, though. Compare this, if you will, to games that don't... A game that's a roleplay game that doesn't really have characters so much as Beep Boop AI, the game, Mountain Blade Warband. At least that game, the dialogue from the AI tends to be relatively brief.
Yeah. I mean, granted, the AI back in those days was still a work in progress to a degree, but
Yeah,
it worked.
It did
Unlike
work.
the AI today.
Yeah.
Compared to the AI today.
Alright, Tactician Alexandra says, I swear I could read a Berserk volume in the time it takes to read this single comic. Oof.
Well,
right.
Ace, you weren't wrong. We're about to experience a moment from the Bible right in this panel.
Oh, boy. Paul says his force jump was on cooldown. Siege says, oh, please, please, please do the thing I'm thinking of, where they change the story into Noah's Ark, but also mess that up too by making it gay and useless. Yep. Tactician Alexandra says, it's almost harvesting season. I will drink from your skull. Alright.
It just keeps getting
Here
better
we
and
go.
better.
Here we go. Pray for us as we take the long and arduous journey to read this comic.
Which is only like 5 seconds at this point, because after this panel, like, what kind of panel is this? I mean, you could have put some lines to, or you could have, I don't know.
So, you finally found me, you old dog. I love how that's his introduction to this story.
So, he's a Buddhist that sits on top of a mountain? That's it?
I guess so.
Okay, then. Less of the old Tarek. I'm not so long in the tooth as you think. Huh?
No? How long has it been?
Too long. Must be, 10 years?
I haven't been back to Coruscant for 20.
20 years by the light. Maybe I've changed a little after all. So this was hyping it up to be like some cool, epic, dramatic scene, and now they're just chill.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, you could definitely say this comic subverts expectations.
Yeah, in more ways than one, probably.
Just a little. But it's good to see you, Barnabas, now that you've finally arrived.
You almost sound like you were expecting me, Tarek.
Really? The guy that first thing he says is, so you finally found me, was expecting you. It sounds like he's expecting you. Oh, well, who could have seen that coming?
Yeah, nothing suspicious there at all.
We needed a whole nother page of them hugging and greeting each other to go, hi, but he sounds like he's expecting him.
Where's the guy who pops out from the bush with just his eyes showing, being like, these two look sus, we should intervene?
Nico says, since the Bible was mentioned, can Mos Eisley get the Sodom and Gomorrah treatment? I mean, we'll see. Paul says Noah's Ark where everyone is gay and they all go extinct. Siege says corruption of narrative on top of destroying the copy of someone else's work. Siege says, will he kill himself like the guy from The Acolyte? Oh, they're just friends. Gay friends. Stormrain says, bro.mp3, what is this pacing? Yeah, I know. We are starting to find issues with this comic. Absolutely. Yeah. It's not as atrocious as most High Republic comics, but it's not.
It's not woke, but it's more of like just, what the hell am I looking at?
Yeah, this is already showing flaws, so.
I might need to watch Spaceballs like 3 times just to kind of refresh my brain.
Yokai says, how can you fuck up a meeting as badly? Yeah, good question. You're needed here. There is a task I cannot complete alone.
What are you saying? That you summoned me here, Hal? Here? How?
You know as well as I do, Barnabas. Through the stone. The echo... Yeah. Oh, wait, that's your line.
The Echo Stone?
Indeed. The stone helped me find you. It's a magnificent artifact, Barnabas. It's allowed me to achieve great things. I imagine you've heard the outlandish stories.
I've heard the stories, all right. So is half of the Outer Rim. About how the all-powerful Jedi who's been traveling from world to world, righting the wrongs of this magical stone. You painted a target on your back, old friend, but worse, you have no idea of the arcane danger you've unleashed.
The things the stone has enabled me to do, Barnabas, the power contained within. I've helped so many people.
Tarek, don't you see what you're doing? Don't you see what it's doing to you? It's burning you up. You look ill.
Stay back. You're not ready to wield the stone. And which among us would truly claim that such self-sacrifice wasn't worth it if we could save the lives of hundreds, if not thousands, in the power of our hands?
I don't doubt your motives, Tarek, nor the work you do. I only want you to understand what it is you're toying with.
I understand more than you think. I know that this is an Echo Stone, and I assure you, Barnabas, I know very well that it is not that it is no trifling toy.
Then you know that you have to give it up. I've seen what the stone can do. I know how their power can consume people. Give it to me, Tarek, and I'll see you free of this curse. I'm searching for the planet of their origin. I'll return the stone to where it can do no harm.
I can't. I'm sorry, Barnabas. I know you're trying to help. But I've made a promise. A promise I must see through.
A promise to whom?
To the Ulorian people.
You've promised to save them from these floods.
Yes, and I need your help.
Then you have it, Tarek. If it will help you see sense.
Thank you, old friend. We don't have much time. I've almost completed my preparations. Alright, Tactician says, a magical stone that lets him heal people. Is this Full Metal Alchemist now? Free of the curse, so is the stone the One Ring now? Yeah, good questions.
He's gonna turn into Gollum, barring losing the hair.
Yeah. Paul says, the brevity is the soul of wit. Yes, it is. Siege says, a lover's quarrel. Storm Rain says, help me find you, bro. He came to you, not the other way around. Yep. Siege says, I may need to watch something good after this as well, like an entertainment enema.
I agree.
Yokai says, we went from exposition to exposition of the MacGuffin. Yes, we have. This is yet more exposition of why he can't give it up.
The exposition just keeps getting worse and worse.
This is the most exposition-heavy comic I've seen from a High Republic series. The High Republic series. So
and that's
far.
saying something. And that's saying something, given the fact that Phase 1 had... I think there were a couple there that had some sizable exposition dumps.
Yep. Storm Range says, originality these authors do not have, it seems. Yeah. Siege says, what? He just forced put... And they're just having tears, some shit. No way these are men. Are these men? Yeah. Paul says, if I just saw the panels on this page, I'd think I was reading some medieval comic. Yeah, that too.
Yeah, this looks more medieval than actual Star Wars.
Yes, it does. That's another thing. This comic is taking some weird directions.
I mean, Tales of the Jedi in the 90s, they had more of an ancient Egyptian look, which I think looked pretty cool, but it's like...
Oh, God,
they need that whole thing to make... Huh?
Sorry. I just noticed that this is also a longer comic. This is 28 pages.
Yeah.
We're in for a long one, aren't we, ladies and gentlemen? All right, let's continue.
Should we just try to power through it and, you know...
Yeah, I think the voice might be starting to wear a little bit too, so let's continue.
Yeah. Where are we going?
Here, just over this ridge, you'll see what we're facing.
By the light.
The Ulorian settlement is in a low valley beyond these peaks. They're the last of the indigenous people alive on this planet. Many of their people have already died in the smaller floods that preceded this one, and in a matter of hours, that wave is set to obliterate them. The entire valley will be flooded, the settlement drowned. I'm pretty sure that is way closer than a couple of hours.
That's not how waves work.
Yes.
Yeah, that what he's saying, that is bullshit, and it just proves that, like... God, I'm too drained from this exposition, I can't even think of anything. Ace, I'm losing it.
I know. So this is going to be the Noah's Ark story. Oh no.
God, I may need to resort to... Fuck, why are we gonna have to resort to this?
Let's continue, please.
All right. Why are we wasting time here? We need to evacuate the settlement now. That is a more reasonable approach.
Yes, it is. But, don't you think I've tried? They won't go, Barnabas. They're proud people. They won't leave their ancestral home. Their entire culture is rooted here.
Then they're done for.
No, not if we use the stone. We can channel its power to raise the dam out of the landscape itself.
What are you saying? That's impossible. The power involved
is all here. Help me, Barnabas, and I'll relinquish the stone. Help me save these people.
All right. But I don't like it, Tarek. I don't like it at all.
I'm just going to say for a moment here, since this does need to be mentioned, I'm pretty sure this is a bit of a... I'm going to have to bitch slap this a little bit for lore, because pretty sure the Jedi philosophy is that the Force can accomplish literally anything, which is why Darth Vader was not very impressed by the Death Star.
Yeah.
Now, you could maybe, in theory, argue that this guy thinks it's out of his capability to utilize the Force. So
it's like you're dealing, but at the same time, you're dealing with an artifact that you know almost little to nothing about. Like, you don't even know if it could kill you if you try doing that at certain amounts.
Siege says, sweet Jeebus, he just gives up to illogical BS so fast. Yes, I know. Yeah, I'm getting Kung Fu or Kung Pao Enter the Fist vibes here. You'll never make it. Don't you see you can't make it? I implore you to reconsider. Okay.
What's next? It's gonna do that whole Flash I love you thing from Flash Gordon. Every 5 seconds.
Tactician Alexandra says to you, Triro, being an editor for comics these days is just giving a green stamp and accept a paycheck. On that subject, let's actually, since this is a habit, let's go ahead and see how many people worked on this comic.
All right.
So
let's see what we're doing.
So how many people had to read the script of this? So we have George Mann, the writer. We have 2 letterers there, so 3 people. We then have an editor, so 4. An assistant editor, which is 5. Then we have a senior editor, which is 6. An associate editor, which is 7. And the 3 people from the story group, which is 8, 9, and 10. So 10 people had to read the plot of this comic before it became publicly available.
You need 10 people to read that. Wouldn't it be better if it was just like 2 or 3?
Yes, but this is still an improvement over where we've been with High Republic, because I think the most we've seen was maybe 12 or 13 people had to read the plot at one point.
I'm starting to wonder if these High Republic authors are onto us.
I'm semi-convinced that to some degrees they are.
Like, they're onto us.
I know that some of my videos have actually gone popular enough that they're actually doing better than the actual books that I'm criticizing, so...
You did a good job.
Let's continue. All right, so we're on page...
Very well.
We're going on to page 19.
All right. I can feel it, like the pressure mounting behind my eyes. It's coming.
We can do this, Barnabas. I've been preparing. We can stop that storm from destroying those people.
That stone doesn't destroy us first. You just said you had an hour before it came here.
They just sat there and waited.
Of course they did. Who knows what was happening off screen? The world may never know. Or off panel in this case.
And now they're doing another meme. Here it comes.
Can somebody in the chat clip this out? This is pure gold right here.
Alright.
Okay, some content.
All right. I think that's your character there.
Okay. We did it, Vix. We raised the ground and created a barrier. A dam to hold the water back.
We did it, Patrick. We saved the city.
I was hoping you'd do something like that. We did it, Patrick! We saved the city! And there were no casualties.
Stormray
that we know of.
Bro, that page is like Goku gathering energy from other people to form that giant blast. Yeah, this is basically the Spirit Bomb, but Star Wars edition.
I know nothing. I'll be honest, I know nothing about Dragon Ball, so... Sorry.
Alright. Well, my advice, if you want to get into it, watch Dragon Ball Z, then watch the original Dragon Ball, which is the series that came before it. Just know that the original Dragon Ball has a lot of moments that can be summarized as Akira Toriyama why.
So basically, all I know about it is that Master Roshi is an extreme pervert.
Master Roshi...
And Goku is a child.
Yeah, and Goku kind of doesn't know better than to not constantly pat people on their junk to tell if they're boys or girls.
Yeah, that's kind of why I was like... That's kind of why I didn't want to watch it, because I'm like, is this all I'm going to be... Is this what I'm in for the show? Because this is uncomfortable.
Okay, to be fair, he doesn't really do that much after the first few episodes, but... Yeah, also, Kid Goku going nude is also a constant reoccurring theme.
Oh god, I don't want to see that. That's disgusting. No.
Anyways. Stormrain says, oh my lord, yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, anyways, let's continue.
It was as if the stone amplified our connection to the Force, allowing us to tap into it in unforeseen ways. And that made me even more worried.
You knew what it did before.
Did it, Tarek. We did it.
Ooh.
Tarek, can you hear me?
I'll be alright. I just need to rest.
Dude, you're not alright. Your eyes are turning purple, your skin's turning pale, and you may be having blood deficiency, if that's actually a thing. It's that Echo Stone, BYRNE. You've given it too much of yourself. Had to help. Oh, oops, sorry.
Had to help the Olorians.
You did it, Tarek. You did it.
Nico says, and Goku meets a fake fortune teller who talks about his 2 Dragon Balls, and he accidentally pulls his pants off. No, well, he doesn't accidentally. What she says is, oh yes, I see there are 2 balls in your pants, and they are very and you cherish them very much. And he goes, wow, she's right again, guys. May I see them? Okay.
Oh, it's disgusting. Okay, Ace, in all seriousness, I think we should stop talking about this before we get struck with sexual harassment lawsuits. Okay, chat, let's just quit it before before HR comes in. Before YouTube HR catches us. What have we done?
Yes, what have we done? To be fair, that's not even that uncommon. That kind of humor is not that uncommon in anime. I mean, Mobile Suit Gundam's made similar jokes as well, including Gundam 79.
I know, but still, it's early Dragon Ball. What were they thinking?
Well, that's more of a. I think that's more of a cultural thing than anything. But I digress.
Yeah, the Japanese have been into some weird kinks recently, and we're not going to get into that. Anyways.
Yeah, let's avoid that.
Yeah. You're awake. How you feeling?
I've felt better.
The stone is consuming you, old friend. The power it contains, it was never meant to be burdened. It was never meant to be the burden of one person alone. If you don't give it up, I believe it will destroy you soon.
How can I, Barnabas? How can I let it go?
You can trust an old friend, Tarek. I promise I won't let it fall into the wrong hands. It'll be safe with me until I can find a way to take it back to where it truly belongs.
Riley Moon says, you ain't seen nothing until you seen David Bowie fondle his balls in Labyrinth. Oh yeah, that. Which is even funnier when that's A, live action, B, a Western film, or no, a West, as in came from the West, came from the US, I think, or either the US or UK, and C, that's a family picture too.
Oh God! It's
Okay.
even worse.
So
Chat, we are going to get stuck. We are going to get struck with sexual lawsuits.
So here's the thing, right? So that joke is he's got these magical crystal balls that he can move around with. They moves around constantly, juggles and does other stuff with. But there is also the really, really tight, and because it's so tight, is very revealing clothing that David Bowie wears throughout the film.
Well, then again, it's also David Bowie.
The Bowie constrictor was visible for everyone to see, if you get my meaning.
Oh, God, why?
There's been so many fucking jokes made about Labyrinth for that.
Yeah, and then God only knows what the collab of Freddie Mercury was like. Guess I got really under pressure with that.
So, anyways, let's continue. Tactician Alexandra says, cast it into the fire, destroy it. To be fair, this dude is actually legitimately giving it up here, so.
Yeah.
You've done the right Alright, that's your rhyme, my bad.
You're good. You've done the right thing, Tarek. I know it.
Perhaps. One last thing before you leave. The planet you seek. The place where that stone originated. I know the way.
You know where the stone came from. Have you been there?
No. Nor will I. I've heard tales about that place. About the beautiful and terrible things that lurk there. It's not safe, Barnabas. Just think about it. If that stone is just a tiny fragment of the power that resides there.
Where is it, Tarek? You must tell me. I intend to return the stone and another to neutralize them. To stop them from being turned into weapons. Fast forward a century later.
I'll tell you, Barnabas, because I know your motives to be true. But you mustn't tell no other. The very fate of the galaxy could depend upon it. Later.
I'm on my way there now, Vix. I don't know what I'm going to find there, but I have to make this journey. The Force guides my hand. I wish you could see what I'm seeing. I can hardly believe I found it.
So they're now traveling through the warp for some reason from 40K. Why?
I don't know. Seems like they're taking ideas from other franchises at this point.
Stormraid says, I love how this has developed into a ball-related conversation because this comic is so mid. Yeah. Mr. Vitek says, guess you could say his balls were under pressure. They were. They very clearly, They were under pressure as clear as fucking day.
So were Mercury's. No wonder they decided to collab together on... Anyways, I hope you get to hear this message, Vix. if I don't make it through the barrier that surrounds the planet, I want you to know that I'm sorry. I never meant to leave you this way. I hope you understand that I have to go on. I have to know. The Echo Stones are too dangerous to be ignored. No matter the risk, I must find out the truth. I've hidden one so you can try again. If I fail, oh shit, I think I just screwed this up. Hold on.
Yeah.
I need to better understand them. To keep everyone safe from their terrible power. I've hidden one so you can try again if I fail. I trust you, Vix. You're one of the smartest people I uncover the secrets of this. Vix. It's beautiful.
And there ends the final transmission of Barnabas Vim.
What happened? You can't end the story there.
No one knows, as far as the records show. That was the last anyone ever heard or saw of Barnabas Vim. The telemetry from where his broadcast originated gave no clues as to the location of the planet.
But that can't be it. Did he make it to the planet? Did Vix go after him?
I wish I knew. I really do. It would make all this a lot easier. But the truth is, no one knows what happened to Barnabas or the Echo Stones he was carrying. I like to think that he made it, though. That he found what he was looking for out there amongst the stars, and that by doing so he blazed a trail that we can follow. I have to believe he found the answers, Amadeo, because if he did, that means we can too. And what's more, we weren't the only ones to follow in his wake. There were others too, and that's where the trail leads us next. Next time, the Jedi Pathfinders return, by reading archives instead of actually pathfinding.
Okay, that's enough torture for tonight, don't you think?
That was Exposition the Comic. It is officially the most exposition-heavy High Republic comic I've seen. And it just promises us yet more exposition. At least the last issue, right? It made it seem like it wasn't actually going to be all exposition, that it was going to actually lead us into knowing, to them actually following.
Exactly. This... I was expecting there to be at least...
Wait, no, it does actually... Wait, no, this does actually tell us at the end here that it was going to be more exposition.
Yeah.
I will say this. For what it's worth, the original story on these was actually... The original story in the first issue was itself self-contained, interesting of sorts.
Yeah.
This, however, felt like much more of a holding pattern.
So kind of like Limbo in a sense.
Yeah. I will say this. Is this the worst High Republic comic? Not by a long shot at all.
No, it was definitely... It was kind of a bore, but at least... They didn't say... They weren't trying to push like a message or anything. They were just trying to give us some explanations, but they're doing it in the wrong way.
Yeah, at least this doesn't, with the arguable exception of that one part where the guy doesn't think it's possible to raise that up, even though a Jedi would actually think it's at least in theory possible, but they might not think they necessarily have the ability themselves to do it. So, I will say this. From a lore perspective, this isn't actually anywhere near as awful as, say, most things High Republic.
I agree.
There is some subversion in which you think that the character that's going to give up that stone is actually going to turn on him, but doesn't, so that did subvert my expectations a little bit.
I think that's actually kind of refreshing because at this, like, let's be real, whenever that happens, it's like, it's kind of overdone. Like, you know that they're going to turn on it, but turn on you if you do something like that, but it's nice to see someone who's actually willing to kind of give up the artifact just to serve himself and the people around him.
I will say this, looking at this last image, while the actual line work of the comic has so far been pretty god-awful in terms of the lack of detail, the coloring is not bad.
Yeah, I'm getting some 90s vibes off this color, to be honest.
The coloring here. The coloring is nice. The problems are the writing has way too much exposition. There is very little payoff, and it's very clear that this is just going to be more of a, oh, let's see what these guys did, let's see what these guys did sort of comic, rather than, you know, actual... Yeah.
That, and as a side note, now that you mention, like, the lining, I think lining is a huge issue with comics these days. Because it's like... the characters just look fake and they just don't look good. I mean, barring some exceptions, but yeah. Wonder what the chat thinks about all this.
Alright, let's read some of these here. So, Yokai says this is the Giat. Mateus says, I'm just thinking how this ties with Exegol. Siege says, what is happening? Stormray says, wait, didn't Tarek ask him not to tell anyone about the stone? Yes! Or at least about where he's heading. So that much is suspect. Mr. Vibechick says, he's having a stroke from reading Star Wars to Siege. Tactician says, oh well, I forgot these two existed. Siege says, this is the writer being a dick. This is such a gay ending. Yes.
Yeah.
Nico honestly says, so pretty meh comic all around. Yeah, this is a very meh comic. It's still worlds better than most things High Republic, but it's very meh in general.
Actually, Ace, you know why they're doing this? They're doing this so the payoff will be in the novels. Like, they're making you read the comics so that the novels can be the payoff, not the actual comic.
Yeah.
I think they're doing.
Let's use comics that nobody reads to create a payoff in books that nobody reads. That's a winning strategy.
That's literally what they're doing. It's like...
Tactician says, this seems like it could easily be edited down to flow and pace way better to have more action and adventure by showing the stone doing stuff other than explain. Yes, that is 110% true. They could have cut down this writing to maybe a third of what it was, and it would still work. But they didn't.
Yeah.
Because they decided to tell rather than show, and it ended up really hurting the quality of this comic. Is this comic as bad as as regular High Republic or Adventures? No. In fact, this in comparison is actually good in comparison to those. It's just very
I was going to say High Republic Adventures is still the king, or in this case, queen, of being the worst of the High Republic.
I'm not sure, because Shadows of Starlight is only 4 issues, but it is the worst fucking 4 issues I have ever seen.
Yeah, but I say Adventures is the queen because it's just 2 lesbians as the main protagonists.
Good point.
Let's be real there.
Good point. There's a lot to complain about in High Republic Adventures as well. But yeah, both that and Shadows of Starlight are the 2 top, definitely, in terms of the worst.
Yeah.
Stormram says, I guessed it correctly on it being exposition to comic. Riley says, maybe I got dementia, but I remember reading comics having more pages and taking less effort to read. Yeah. Well, yeah, it depends on the exact comic for issue or the number of pages. This is actually on par or slightly longer than what I've seen with a lot of the older comics I've been reading. But in terms of the amount of dialogue, most of those have way less dialogue than this, even in the more exposition-heavy ones from back then. So I'm going to go with, this is not well written. It's just not as...
I don't want to read just about dialogue. I just want to frickin' read a comic and see some cool artwork.
But the fact that we're actually criticizing stuff like this instead of lore breaks like Jedi telling each other nobody expects you not to feel the way you feel, or watching the Jedi deliberately put planets into peril just to see if their Padawans can save them as a test. Yeah, compared to that, this is worlds better.
Yep.
Alright, so Stormrain says, I wish I wasn't, though, rip. Paul says, the writer should have tried reading out loud what he was writing and maybe realized he should have cut down. Yeah. Or the numerous editors that were here should have done their fucking job and said, do fucking better than this, you fucking numbnut.
Exactly.
Tactician says, yeah, when it comes to the dialogue, if you want to make someone read a lot of it, got to make it more interesting, like a wine, leaving you wanting more. Yep. Mr. Vibe Check says they're putting Kimmy cakes in the midichlorians to turn the freaking Jedi.
We need Deadpool to come in and just kill everybody. We need Deadpool to just come in here and do that.
Matea says 90s Star Wars Marvel type of color. Yeah, the artwork, or the coloring is the one thing that's actually genuinely interesting in this. Which is not enough to save it. And let's see how many people commented. One person. Always fun to read the cover with them referencing the series that never was. Talking about the Acolyte there. So yeah, the only person that's left is this dude that is digging into this comic, and quite rightly so. So is this the worst thing High Republic related? No. Not even close.
No.
Wait, they've got a White Death comic that's, I assume, based around the World War II sniper? That I'm interested in. Yeah, because that's what it's showing. Also on Read White Death comic online.
Let's check it out someday.
Yeah, I'm really tempted to check that out. Paul says the Akko what? Storm says the Acolyte, is that something you eat? Matthias says he's happy. All right. So, I think we're at a good point to go ahead and call it. Is there anything else you wish to add?
I just want to say, exposition, not good for storytelling. That's a lesson everyone should learn.
Yep.
That's the only way. I can't think of anything good how to end this other than just saying that.
All right, and I think we're in a good position to go ahead and call it. So, yeah, this has been Ace.
And Jedi Exile.
Thank you for being on.
We will talk to you later.
And we hope to both see you all again soon. Until then, take care. Ace out.